Before dawn, 30,000 men move through the darkness behind the city of Ai. There are no torches, and no sound but sandals on stone. They circle wide through these arid, rolling hills, positioning themselves in the deep wadis where no watchman on the walls will ever see them arrive. Days earlier, the light shifted. The wind over the camp went still, and the divine voice came to Joshua. "Do not fear, and do not be dismayed. Rise, go up against Ai. I have given its king and its people into your hand." But the Malbim observes a clear distinction here. Jericho fell entirely to a miracle. Its walls dropped flat, belonging to God alone. Ai, however, is ordained to fall to human planning. Because this victory comes by a calculated stratagem rather than supernatural destruction, the city's spoil is released to the soldiers. But Joshua sets one condition: they can only take it after the city burns. Joshua gives one absolute order about that spoil: take nothing until Ai is fully ablaze. The army carries the memory of Achan, who seized forbidden plunder at Jericho and died beneath a heap of stones. To reach their position, 30,000 men navigate miles of empty country by night, moving in total silence to reach the southwest corner of the city unseen. While they hide, a second, smaller force of 5,000 men takes position to the west of the city walls, resting in plain sight. The Israelite camp forms a massive physical backward L in the landscape. One line of soldiers faces the city from the north, while a flanking heel reaches to the best, ready to wrap around the enemy from the side. At first light, Joshua finishes the design. He leads the main body of his troops directly down into the valley, placing himself in the open to serve as bait. On the wall, the king of Ai, a Middle Eastern ruler in Bronze Age regalia, spots the Israelites in the valley. He throws open the north-facing gates and pours his entire city out to attack. Joshua's men immediately break their lines and run desperately toward the wilderness. The Malbim notes that the Israelites made themselves appear stricken. It is a performance. They are weaponizing the very real shame of their past defeat to trick the king into overconfidence. The bait is taken. Every single fighter from Ai and the neighboring town of Bethel streams out in pursuit, leaving the city gate wide open and the walls abandoned. The first phase of the stratagem is complete. The defenders have voluntarily separated themselves from their stone walls, leaving the city defenseless. The divine voice returns to Joshua. "Stretch out the javelin in your hand toward Ai." Joshua lifts bronze blade against the sky and holds it there. It is the silent signal for the hidden thousands. Far across the valley, the 30,000 men rise from the south. They charge the open gate, take the empty city, and set it ablaze. The Malbim notes that this specific ambush was designed to strike the physical city itself, targeting the fortification while the army was lured away. Down in the valley, the men of Ai turn back. They see a massive column of smoke climbing to heaven, and the strength goes out of their hands. The Israelites who had been fleeing stop, turn, and face their now paralyzed pursuers. The trap slams shut. The ambush drives up from the south, while the backward L holds the north and west. The only side left open faces east, straight toward the blackened ruin of Jericho. The king runs for the gap, and finds it is no gap at all, for that ground is already under Israel's hand. To the Malbim, this is the core of the strategy, to ring the enemy on every side. Jericho fell to a miracle. Ai fell to a man's wisdom, and the same hand had guided both. The king is captured, executed, and buried beneath stones by sundown. The city is left a desolate, ruined mound. Joshua immediately pivots from warfare to establishing the covenant, leading the nation to a new landscape. The nation gathers at the facing slopes of Mount Eival and Mount Gerizim, with a broad valley stretching between them. On Mount Eival, Joshua builds an altar of whole, unhewn fieldstones, rocks over which no iron tool has been lifted. The Malbim asks why this altar is being built only now, days after the battle, when the command was for the day they crossed the Jordan. The answer lies in a two-part timeline. Memorial stones were set at the river on the day of the crossing, while the permanent altar for the Torah was reserved for this specific mountain. Directly onto these rough stones, Joshua writes the words of the Torah. The nation is divided across the landscape. 6 tribes stand on the slopes of Mount Gerizim for the blessing, and 6 on Mount Eival for the curse. In the valley between them, the Middle Eastern Kohanim stand with the gold-fitted, covered Ark of the Covenant. The words Moses commanded echo across the open ground, reaching every man, woman, and child in the assembly. The solemn establishment of the covenant goes on, while far on the horizon, the smoke of Ai still drifts into the evening sky.